So welcome back, everyone. Today's our day around renewables and environmental impact of businesses out there. So what we're going to do now is we're going to hear from Ava Jones, who's going to talk about her company, Aesc's journey to net zero. Ava will explain more about that. But again, Jackie, another great employer in Rotherham we're going to find out a little bit more about.
Yeah, Aesc, absolutely fantastic company. Leading edge on lots of things, so I'm really looking forward to hearing about their journey. John,
Okay,
thank you.
So let's hear now from Ava.
Hello, I'm Ava Jones and I'm a Business Assurance Officer for Aesc. Today I'm going to talk about what net zero is, how our business has achieved it, what the next steps forward are, and how you can do this as an individual. So, what is net zero? This is the balance between the amount of greenhouse gases that are emitted and the amount that are removed from our atmosphere. But why are we working towards net zero as a business? The world confronts an urgent carbon problem, with the average surface temperature rising between 0.69 degrees and 0.9. Global warming is driven by human emissions from greenhouse gases. Put simply, this is the long-term warming of our planet. We are on the road to 4 degrees warming by 2100, so we need to react now and not later. So what's our Aesc journey to net zero? Aesc plc has achieved a major milestone by achieving net zero in our UK operations. This achievement covers all of our Scope 1 and Scope 2 greenhouse emissions, plus those associated with business flights. So what are Scope 1 emissions? These are the direct emissions from company-owned and controlled resources. In other words, they are the emissions related to a set of activities. So what are Scope 2 emissions? These are sort of your indirect emissions. For example, our utility bills, such as purchased electricity, purchased heat, and purchased steam and cooling. The business has actually calculated its Scope 1 and Scope 2 emissions, and in turn, we've been able to offset any residual emissions as a result. So how have we actually reached this? The business has implemented many reduction plans in order to reduce the emissions associated with our Scope 1 and 2. For example, we have a policy of purchasing green electricity from renewable resources. This supports the renewable sector and reduces the level of carbon emissions that the business is responsible for producing. The energy produced on these tariffs are verifiable and certificates are issued by our suppliers. We also have a building management system in place, so this was installed to effectively manage our heating and air handling systems at our Rotherham site. At the time of installation, over 35% of our energy used on site was for space heating, so after installation of the BMS, this reduced to just below 20%. We've also had lighting upgrades to LED across our sites, and this has significantly improved our lighting quality as well as our energy consumption. So what are our next steps? We are currently calculating our Scope 3 emissions for our entire value chain. But what are Scope 3 emissions? These are the indirect emissions which are not owned. These are split into 15 categories, and given the broad range of these, the Scope 3 emissions often are greater than our Scope 1 and 2 emissions combined. Once the Scope 3 emissions have been calculated, the business will establish how much needs to be offset, and net zero can then be achieved across all 3 scopes in our UK operations. We are confident of achieving net zero across our entire global network by 2029. So what can you do? We all live in some form of household, therefore we can all play our part. Households have been the biggest emitter of greenhouse gases since 2015. In 2017, they actually accounted for over a quarter of the greenhouse gases emitted in the UK. The median UK household emissions are 17.1 tonnes of CO2 each year. So what can you do? If you only fill a kettle with what you need, a household could save £6. In Sheffield, there are approximately 240,000 households. Now, if every household conducted the energy-saving actions displayed on this table, a total of £70.5 million could be saved. But what is that in CO2 savings? Just turning down your thermostat by 1 degree could save one household 310 kilograms of CO2. If all of Sheffield turned down their thermostat by 1 degree, this would save 74,400 tonnes of CO2. Now imagine the scale of positive impact the collective businesses and households could have on the UK if we all play our part. So next time you think about turning the heating on, think about your actions and the savings you could make. What might seem like a small change to you, if everyone does this, we will be building a better world together.
So many thanks to Ava for that insight into their particular journey. Lots of things for us all to think about there, I guess, Jackie, in our day-to-day lives.
Yeah, lots of things really, really interesting. Yeah, and even though that's for industry, there's a lot we can learn. And, things about just cutting down on things, turning the lights off, saves a few pennies, but also everything, electric cars, everything. There's just so much to learn and for us to think about. And, and for you guys, your students out there, maybe take these messages home to your parents, to your teachers. All these little bits does make a massive difference. We can't change the world by ourselves, but it seems as though we can do it collectively as well. So, fantastic.
Absolutely. So tonight when you go home, everybody, or wait, if you're at home, switch that extra light off that you might have left on otherwise. And listening to other people's stories is inspiring and helps us all. And we've just heard Aec's story. We're going to hear from Aec again now. We're going to hear from their managing director, Chris Ray, who now is on a mission to share their experience and help other companies to become net zero and to make a better world, so better world solutions. So let's go over to Chris and hear from him now.
By way of introduction, my name is Chris Ray. I'm the Group Managing Director of Aesc Engineering Limited. Aesc Engineering Limited is the holding company of reliability businesses, the largest of which is the Aesc Group. Our business operates in 41 countries where we have fully owned or majority owned subsidiaries. I'm an engineer, an honorary and actual fellow of the Institution of Mechanical Engineers, and I've spent a lifetime travelling the globe, and in my time I have visited many of the manufacturing facilities that exist in different industries in all parts of the world. I've always wondered why major organisations employed reliability engineers who were not able to ensure that best practice was shared inside their own organisation. Well, none of that's maybe important unless you consider the consequences to the world. So laterally I started to think, well, why is it important that organisations share best practice? Based upon the narrow understanding I have of the world, but a pretty widespread understanding of global industrial processes. And what I concluded was, it was really quite important, and it was really quite important for my grandchildren. So I'm going to tell you a story, and this story is actually true. I visited a very large facility in America, and on one side of the lake, we had put processes in place which stopped them from draining the lake, which was required as the drinking water for the local community. The plant that I visited on the other side of the lake was owned by the same organisation, and they intended to put in a process to drain the lake. My colleague who was with me at the time pointed out to them that there was known technology which they'd already applied on the other side of the lake that would stop them from draining the lake. And the person that we presented to basically said, "I don't think we're going to do that." My response was, I gave more money to charity last year, in fact many times more money to charity last year than the cost of this process. And if your huge corporation cannot afford the $148,000, which will be good for the planet, stop you draining the lake, stop emissions, save water, and also give you a great return on investment and increase your productivity, I'll give it you for free as part of my charitable giving. And I meant it. Those are the extreme lengths that you have to go to sometime to get people who are not at the top of organisations to understand that it's just not acceptable not to make decisions that share best practice, that stop emissions which are heating up the world. Anyway, the next day, my colleague got a call from this senior buyer who said, "We've talked about it. Here's the order. Tell your boss we don't need his money. and we don't want any discount. So maybe I should try that one again sometime in the future. About a year and a half later, that same organisation placed a huge order with our business and put in a huge water management project, which also will have very large emission savings. So as I've been getting older, I've been wondering why. Why, when it is so obvious that you don't even have to believe in the science, you have to know that most of your customers believe in the science, why is it so obvious that you could save water, save energy, prevent emissions, get a return on investment, improve your productivity, and win an environmental award maybe as well? Why do people not do it? So I concluded that what it comes down to is there is no conduit between the board of directors in major organisations and their own operators and suppliers. I therefore created BetterWorld.Solutions, whose whole purpose is to get organisations to adopt a policy to prevent global warming. The health of the earth is all of our concern. The policy is as business-friendly as it gets. It merely asks the board of directors to state that sustainability projects will be given precedence over any other investment for the limited amount of money they have to invest. It doesn't dictate the amount of investment that should be brought to their attention, nor does it dictate the return on investment, because every business is different. It requests that the board of directors gives an answer within an acceptable time period, let's say 3 months, but the answer doesn't have to be yes. It's just important that there is an answer. Perhaps the most important thing is that organisations provide a helpline so that their own operators, who may have been blocked by their immediate supervisors, have a direct conduit to bring environmental projects to their attention, as do their suppliers. With the limited amount of information that we have, on BetterWorld.Solutions, we've got case studies that demonstrate that you could take the emissions of over 350 million cars off the road. There's an awful lot of if you could get other businesses to join in, opportunities to save emissions. It's quite possible that if several 100 million organisations with more than 250 people each adopted a policy to prevent global warming, and if every one of them just had 2 additional environmentally friendly projects or 2 environmentally friendly opportunities to save water and to reduce emissions, it's quite possible that we could reduce emissions and prevent the overheating of the earth. Of course, if business doesn't do it, business will lose its social right to operate. And it would, in my opinion, be inherently better for the board of directors of organisations to self-regulate and to do the right thing now rather than wait for when it's too late.
Wow, another inspiring leader, another inspiring company. John, what a great vision. It's that vision, I think, where people get these ideas from about what you want to do to make the world a better place. And what's really, really fantastic, I thought, was the sharing of that, sharing it freely with all sorts of other companies and really saying, we're all in this together. So amazing, wonderful, wonderful.
Absolutely, Jackie. And our companies compete on so many levels with the products. But this is something where we've got a shared problem that we've all got to work together to overcome, isn't it? So It's great to see local businesses leading the way on that.
Yeah, leading the world, I think, as well. Yeah, absolutely. That vision, can make a really big difference. So wonderful.
Yeah, and we're going to hear 2 more of those stories this afternoon. We're going to hear from Liberty Steel, and we're also going to hear from the Coal Authority about what developments they're doing and some exciting innovations going off in their industry. So please come back and join us at 2 o'clock this afternoon.
Sheffield is home to an advanced manufacturing park, and the area as a whole has a key role to play, I think, in our aim of making the UK the best place in the world to do science.
The North Star, the St Paul's Way Summer Science School and the Well North Enterprises Partnership encourages innovation and opportunity to inspire your generation. Our vision is for the UK to become the best place in the world to practice science, technology, engineering, arts and maths.
Landing checks. Undercarriage. Down 3 greens. Brakes. 4,200 green. Fuel. It's good. We've got £13,500. Landing ramps. Can go that, I suppose. Flash it right. Copy panels. Yeah, nice.
Gaining qualifications is a key stepping stone to future employment.
It's important because you never really get these opportunities in life, and it really helps with your future more than you think it will. On your CV, your confidence will improve a lot. From these 4 days, you can see a difference between everyone you've met.
But qualifications alone do not guarantee success in finding, keeping and progressing in employment.
I think it really helps young adults to develop their skills and become more employable to help their future careers.
Our Summer Academy gives young people the opportunity to gain key skills and attributes that employers are looking for.
Personally, I think I've gained a lot of confidence, self-esteem, and that will definitely help me out in the future. Plus, I've also learned how to write CVs, which I didn't know before.
Our week-long, fun and interactive programme is designed for students aged 14 to 18 who are keen to get a head start.
I have more knowledge about jobs and how things work, especially engineering.
Join us this summer and discover the world of work.